If something is going to be art rather than just entertainment, it has to have a meaning, it has to have a theme and a message. If you aren't trying to say something with what you do, then it's just explosions and mayhem just for the sake of it. Games are interactive. It's not about sitting back and watching somebody else's story. We have to embrace the fact that people will want to tell their own story.
Good art should reveal something about our own existence. As games increasingly mature, they're being held to the same standard. That's the reality facing the team behind Far Cry 3. The island they've created is a world for you to explore with oceans to swim in, pirates to capture, animals to hunt, and if you get some time, you can rescue your friends. We traveled here to freezing Montreal to talk to the team about the challenges of telling a story in an open world environment and whether these digital worlds can truly tell us something about our own.
Open world games are a natural evolution, and they're a response to the consumer. They want variety, they want emotion, they want passion. And so the trick of open world is, yes, you build a sandbox where there are no rules and it's just fun to play. But for us on Far Cry, the real trick was to then tie it into something that's meaningful and personal in a story where it's okay to go back and forth.
How do you tell a story in an open world where the player can go off and do anything at any point? Well, the story better be about being able to go off and do anything at any point.
Far Cry 3 follows an aimless 20-something named Jason Brody. He and his friends have been kidnapped by pirates on a tropical island. Through the course of the narrative, Jason must decide whether he wants to escape into the island's distractions or become a warrior and free his friends.
Far Cry 3 asks the player a very interesting question, which is, if you had the freedom to do whatever you wanted on this island, what would you do?
We have this interesting thing with Jason. He's designed around the stereotypical demographic of the FPS audience. It's like Jason's every gamer, and instead of giving them a game, we've actually given Jason a real situation, and we kind of see the effect that would have on someone. If you decide that Jason isn't going to go straight through the story and rescue his friends as quickly as possible, and instead you want to go away and explore the open world, the story doesn't contradict that. It's because the story is really about Jason moving away from his old life.
Jason knows his friends. He grew up with them, he knows his girlfriend, he knows his little brother, his older brother. So Jason has all this history with all of these people. The player doesn't have that. And so, we give the player this objective, which is to save your friends, but the player doesn't care about these people. And that's very important, because then the player gets attracted by the open world because the player wants to experience all the cool hooks in the game, and that's what attracts the player. The player manages to convince Jason to do things that Jason wouldn't have otherwise done. And then Jason's friends react to that convincing.
I'm not going.
What?
What are you talking about?
Instead of the game ignoring what the player is doing, which like 95% of games do, by the way, the player is constantly messing around with what's going on in the story, and the game feels alive.
This dynamic style of interactive storytelling required the creation of a realistic island.
We needed to make a world that people wanted to escape into and kind of really get lost in and explore. One of the key tenets of building the world is believability. We spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into researching the actual island itself. We looked at the way islands are formed in the real world, the topography, the landforms that we have, and we spent a lot of time making sure that the physical space that you're always grounded in is believable, it's realistic. When you see a river that doesn't make any sense, when it defies natural order, even subconsciously you'll pick up on it and you'll start to question the simulation. Every location in the game, whether it's an old mine or a logging camp or a shipwreck, we make sure that we write a detailed backstory for it. So if it's a shipwreck, where did the ship come from? Why did it end up washed ashore? What cargo did it have? The more depth that you can put into the world, the more that there is for people to discover. One of the key points of the game, especially for level design, was that exploration is king.
Creating a balance between exploration and the main storyline is no small feat. They employed dozens of local testers to play the game full-time. The result is a wealth of player data that can be used to refine the final product.
This tool is called DNA. It's super powerful. I've never worked with anything as cool as this before. We can see the physical paths that the players take to get from one mission to the next. We analyze this data and we look at it and we say, okay, so lots of players just went straight from this mission to the next mission. For the next playtest in 2 weeks' time, I don't want to see these straight lines anymore. I just want to see an explosion. I want to see lots of jagged lines going everywhere. I want to see some exploration. So then the designer will put down some plants, they'll put down the jeep. It's basically their job to distract players as much as possible. Another thing that's important to understand is why people died. If we see in a playtest that a certain player dies 12 times in a mission, you know there's a problem and we know we have to react to it, but we don't know why it's been a problem. This level of depth allows us to react much more responsively to the things that happen. Let's check out and see what happened to this unfortunate soul. Yeah, oh, he's decided to go off-road. Oh, he's on fire. Now he's bailed out. Sometimes you understand that it's your fault as a creator, and sometimes it's just someone who's driving in the dark. There's not a lot we can do to help this guy, except hope that he'll learn from his own mistake. If everyone has the same experience in the game, you don't really have your own story. You don't feel like you have a personal experience. People like to build a campfire and tell a story around it. Whenever we get people to come and play the game, they get excited about the things that happen to them, and they can't wait to tell people about it. And for me, the player's story is one of the most powerful that you can have. Sometimes you get so close to the world that you can't really see what's happening in your own life. But when you see it represented in a game, you get that chance to kind of go, oh yeah, I understand, I can relate to this is happening in my life.